What's up, everybody? Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net, and welcome to part one of our match analysis between Alexander Zverev and Novak Djokovic from the 2020 Olympic Games. To find out exactly how Zverev beat Djokovic at the Olympics, stay tuned because it's coming up next. Coming into the Olympics, Djokovic basically looked unstoppable. He won the Australian Open, the French Open, and Wimbledon pretty handily. So how did Zverev pull off this upset? Let's jump into some quick stats to find out. If we look at the points won by rally length numbers, 1 to 4 shot points were 55% of the points played in this match, and Zverev won 64% of those. 5 to 8 shot points were 24% of the points played, and Zverev won here with 54%. 9 to 12 shot points were 11% of the points played, and Djokovic won 56% of those. The 13 plus shot points were 10% of the points played, and Djokovic won 60% of those. So we've got two extremely consistent players, right? And the stats point to the courts being slower. And if we look at this tweet from tour player Matt Ebden, he says, "Has tennis become too boring? Olympic gold medal match, slow court, slow balls, same rally each point. Both hit big and neither can hardly hit a winner. Every point ending in an error, no diversity, no reward for risk. Boring?" So let's jump into the first point now and see how Zverev dominated the 1 to 4 shot points and the 5 to 8 shot points. Before I break the point down, I'm going to let it play once in real time first. Zverev serving, right? Djokovic with the return. Big aggressive backhand there. And then some nice touch to finish, right? So let's go back to the beginning for a second here and let's break it down. We've got Djokovic here on the near side, deuce side returning, Zverev on the far side serving. Big serve right down the tee, right? Just huge flat serve. Now, that's a flat serve. We're talking about a guy that's 6'6". So this is a flat serve that's above Novak's head. Extremely difficult to handle, so he pops it over, ends up hitting this right away short in zone 2. And one nice thing about Zverev's game, he's got a really, really big two-handed backhand. So he's not one of these guys that absolutely has to run around his backhand to hit a big forehand to do damage in points. He can do it easily with his backhand as well. So right here, boom, huge shot. You don't usually think of balls landing in zone 1 here as doing significant damage, but between the power and the angle, he's got Novak in scramble mode, which normally is not an issue for Djokovic. He counters really, really well from these positions. And here, he does pop it, right? Right at Zverev's feet. This is 101 for Djokovic. This is the play. Go from a defensive position here, and then anticipate a short ball off of that he can finish the point with. And that's usually what he would do. It's a setup, right? So right at the feet, but Zverev comes up with this incredible feel shot and drops it so short that Novak can't even get to it. Just go back for a second here real quick. Novak knows from these defensive positions, if he does certain things, if he drops it short at your feet, 99% of the time, he can expect a ball that's short that he could probably finish. But this one is so short, and you can see Novak again, he's already moving in, right? It's so short though, Novak can't get to it. And it ends up being point Zverev. So if we just go back to the beginning for 1 second here, watch it again quick. Huge flat serve. This one is so high, it's above Novak's head, right? So slow courts are allowing these balls to get a lot higher than they normally would be. Plus Zverev is 6'6". So this ball is getting up because he's a tall server and his height allows his ball to bounce higher on his serve than a shorter player, somebody that's like 5'10", right? It's gonna bounce way higher. Gets the zone 2 ball. He's got a big enough backhand where he can do significant damage. And then great feel on that shot right there. Let's move on to the second point now. I'm gonna let this play through once in real time before we break it down. All right, so let's jump into the analysis. We've got Zverev serving on the near side, ad side this time, and then Djokovic way backed up here in zone 5 on the ad side. Big first serve again. And again, what do we see from Zverev's first serve on this slow, high bouncing court? It's above Djokovic's head when Djokovic is making contact with the ball. It's extremely difficult to control the depth of a ball above your head. It's just not a good leverage position and situation. So Djokovic here ends up, once again, hitting short in zone 2. If you're not hitting in zone 3, especially on a slow court like this, Zverev's going to be able to wind up and get aggressive wherever he wants. So right here, boom, there's the finishing forehand. Zverev's a tall, strong guy. He looks lanky, but he's very strong. And he has the ability to take a ball like this, if you're hitting short, and finish you with that shot. Let's just go back to the beginning for a second here and see how that was set up again. It all starts with that big serve and the fact that the serve was above his head. If that was a lower serve, I fully believe Djokovic would control it better and get depth in zone 3, but instead we end up with a short ball in zone 2. Zverev knows to get aggressive, attacked a lot on the forehand to finish instead of going to the backhand, and did it right there. Novak really struggled against Zverev's first serve to try to get those returns deep in zone 3. Let's look at some stats now. We can see from the stats, right? Zone 2 returns for Novak were 43% of his return of serves. Zone 1 returns were 36% of those returns, and he only had 21% of his return of serves landing deep in zone 3. 21% is low for Novak, but there's a few reasons he really struggled with his depth on the return against Zverev, right? Number one, Zverev served 75% of his first serves in this match. That is unbelievably high for somebody who was cranking out those first serves. And second is what we pointed out in the analysis as well. Those first serves, a lot of them were jumping above Novak's head. It is unbelievably difficult to control balls that are in those positions leverage-wise and to get them deep. And Novak couldn't do it, right? Anything above his head, he was struggling to return them deep. And that was credit to Zverev for hitting so many big first serves in, but that slow court and high bounce also helped quite a bit. One stat that I really love to track is something that I like to call counters. So a counter is any situation where your opponent does damage to you and you're able to either neutralize that, you're able to counter damage them back and hurt them off their own shot, or you're able to hit a counter winner. One thing that was really surprising in this match was Zverev's ability to counter Djokovic. If we look at the counter stats for this match, we can see Djokovic had 31 total counters compared to Zverev's 28. But that's very close when we consider the fact that Zverev did damage to Novak 58 times compared to Novak's 52. Zverev also had 29 winners in this match compared to Novak's 12. So when we take into account that Zverev was the aggressor in the match, the counter numbers being that close are really impressive. Let's look at some points now. We've got Djokovic here on the near side in the ad court and Zverev on the far side in the ad court returning. Nice first serve from Djokovic. And Zverev here returning from zone 4 ends up hitting a short weak ball in zone 1. Anytime you're getting zone 1 balls at any level, this is a chance for you to get aggressive with your shot, either with your power or your direction or both. And if you want to throw some depth in there, even better, right? So Djokovic here, backhand, takes it right away immediately deep into zone 3 into a small target area. And those are shots that are 2 or less feet from the single sideline. So he's confident he can take this ball and do damage to Zverev, and he does that. Zverev's crouched down. He's in a very defensive position on this particular shot. He's very uncomfortable, but he's doing a very good job of getting his body down to try to control his shot. So let's see what he does. And he does a very good job of counter neutralizing or even doing counter damage here by finding zone 3 from a really tough position and backing Novak up onto his back foot so he can't be aggressive, right? But we know Novak is really good from these weird and tough positions, so he takes the ball and he does get aggressive, and he does it by changing the direction of the ball. Normally, if you're teaching somebody at any level, you really wouldn't tell them to hit off their back foot off of a deep ball and then take it and change direction down the line. But that's how good his backhand is. He can do it regularly. So he moves Zverev again and gets Zverev again in a defensive position in here. And normally moving somebody this much would force a short ball. But what does Zverev do here? Finds a way to get the ball again deep in zone 3 and counter Djokovic's shot. And he does it again, back to back. And Novak feels the pressure here now. He's like, man, I've done 2 things in this point that would normally force my opponent to either hit really short or hit an air. That hasn't worked yet. So he goes with the double risk. And what I mean by double risk is Djokovic goes for a small target and tries to hit it deep in zone 3. Very, very difficult to do, especially when you're receiving a ball deep in zone 3. He was getting a deep ball and then tried to take an extreme risk probably because he felt the level of pressure from Zverev that the first 2 balls I hit to you that would normally cause you to hit short didn't work, so now I got to do something crazier, and he misses the shot. So let's go back to the beginning for a second here. Djokovic serving, right down the tee. Zverev with a weak return. This is your best opportunity to really get aggressive. Djokovic takes it, but Zverev shows remarkable counter skills, especially for somebody of his height. Neutralizes deep in zone 3. Djokovic there changes direction to try to do damage again, and he does damage, but Zverev really good on the run, controls the depth, finds zone 3 with that depth, and Djokovic tries to press and then misses the shot. Let's move on to the last point now. So before I break it down, let's let it play once in real time. Djokovic again serving. Nice first serve. Get a little longer point here again, right? The green dots are your big targets in the point. So you've got a lot of green dots here, a lot of big targets. They're moving each other around quite a bit. And then we've got a finish from Zverev. All right, so let's break it down. We got Zverev here returning on the deuce side from a little deeper position. Djokovic serving on the deuce side on the far side here. Starts off with a very nice first serve. Good laser, right to the backhand. Zverev, though, really strong on his backhand. And Zverev, though, accidentally hits short. This ball lands in zone 2. Djokovic has the opportunity, because the ball is short, to get aggressive here. And he steps around to hit that forehand. And he gets aggressive. But Djokovic is smart. He gets aggressive in different ways. He doesn't just get aggressive through pure power. A lot of times he'll get aggressive by moving you and trying to get you to make errors or hit short when he moves you without him taking a ton of risk. This is one of those shots that he's trying to do it with. So he takes it, hits it into zone 2 right here. But Zverev really good with the backhand. Let's see what he does here. And he doesn't do a great job with it. Anchors himself down really nicely with his position, his balance, and his body. But he ends up hitting short here in zone 2, and Djokovic loves his backhand, so he's going to line this up. And Djokovic, again, not overpowering here, but he's trying to maneuver his opponent to force short or weak balls. So he's trying to move you to do it. Zverev, though, comes up here with a tremendous shot from a defensive position. He's been damaged, but finds a way to find zone 3 depth almost into a small target. So this is a very difficult ball for Djokovic to get aggressive with. He probably will not be able to get aggressive with it because of how deep it is. So he takes this, but he ends up hitting it just a little bit short. And Zverev is lined up, and he knows he can get aggressive and change the direction now because he's got a shorter ball. It's not back here in zone 3, so let's see what he does. He takes it, and he immediately says, okay, you move me around in the early part of this point. I'm going to move you now and get aggressive against you. So he takes the first look that he gets, finds zone 3 depth into a big target, and has Djokovic moving from one end of the court to another, which we know causes a lot of short balls and errors. So let's see what happens. Djokovic, phenomenal from these stretch positions, but he finds zone 3 depth with this ball, right? Gets it right back here. When he hits that zone 3 defensive ball, usually the guy on this side ends up forcing something or hitting short. But we've got a slow court here. So when you find zone 3 depth and it's a weak ball, it's going to sit up, and it sits up for Zverev. So he's not bothered by this at all. He changes direction and forces Novak to move again down the line, forces Djokovic onto the defense here. And then Novak ends up hitting the short ball. This is normally what Novak does to somebody else. He moves them, plays great D, and forces the weak shots. Zverev has a zone 1 ball right here, which means he can get very aggressive. It's very short in the court. He's stepping in because the ball is short. You can see his body moved forward, right? And now he cracks a small target, again, right on the fringe here of zone 3, or basically a zone 3 ball. So once again, Novak moving from one end of the court over to another, which is very difficult. And this one, he doesn't really have the chance to play defense, right? And what I mean by that is if you look at his position, he's fully lunged when he's hitting this ball. This is about as defensive as it gets. You do not have an opportunity here to counter your opponent from this position. You're just lunging. There's nothing behind your shot. It's desperation because of how good Zverev's shot was. It lands short. Zverev very comfortable on his backhand, and then finishes the shot off. All right, so that wraps it up for part 1 of our match analysis on how Alexander Zverev beat Novak Djokovic at the Olympic Games. If you found this video helpful or you feel like you learned something today, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. I'm Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net. I'll see you next time.